Hi, I'm Elysia Bus. I'm the host of Horsepower Empowerment Through Connection. And today I have the honor of getting to interview Randy Peyser. And Randy is a slightly different sort of person that we've interviewed so far. She's just going to share some really profound stories about the work she used to do as a recreational therapist working with severely disabled adults. Now, Randy has all sorts of interesting background because not only has she been a recreational therapist, she is also an author and publisher. And her book, From Crappy to Happy, was held up by Julia Roberts, the one, the only, and the wonderful movie Eat, Pray, Love that so many of us dearly love. And if you haven't watched it, by goodness gracious, you should, because it's great. But on to the fabulous Randy.
Well,
Randy,
thank you
thank you so
very
much.
much.
You're
You know,
welcome.
thank you. I'm very excited about sharing my experiences with equine therapy. And this was back in the late 70s, but these stories are so profound. I think you'll really appreciate knowing about them. First, I'll share with you that I was terrified of horses. They're much bigger than me, but I was working at as a recreation therapist in Belchertown, Massachusetts, a little town between Northampton and Amherst, kind of in that area of Massachusetts. There was a state school for severely developmentally disabled and physically disabled adults. And people who could not talk, could really not express themselves except maybe through screaming or crying.
Wow.
And we had a wonderful equine therapy program there. And as a rec therapist, I had to participate. And so some of the stories I want to share, there was a man named Rudy, Onelegged Rudy. He was 70 years old. He couldn't speak. He was in a wheelchair and he would propel himself around with that one leg, just pushing that wheelchair forward and forward. And he would mostly just kind of like grunt or go, like that. And myself and the 3 other recreation therapists I worked with, we would do these weekly programs down at the horse barn. And we had like the giant ramp that went up, to the horse so we could get a person on the horse. And then we had special loops. And so they were tightly secure in that saddle. And so we would have a person leading the horse and one on the left side of the person holding onto their leg and into the loops, and one on their right side. So the person was very, very supported. And the first time we brought Rudy up to the slanted slope to get on to see the horses, he was screaming and he started headbanging, just and he's screaming. And it's like, okay, back him up. But little by little, and working with him, we got him to the point where he would pet the horse's head. That was huge. And he would be
Oh,
smiling.
yeah.
Oh my God, And then he started kissing the horse's head, kissing the nose and the face. And then one day, and this took months, this was not like a quick, fast food kind of approach to healing. But in time, there was the day that we were actually able to get Rudy up on the horse.
Wow.
And he was smiling, and I felt like it was one of the biggest victories that I ever felt, to see such a transformation in a human being who couldn't express himself except by grunting, slapping, and kissing a horse and smiling. And to just see that delight was absolutely amazing. And then I had one man I was working with, again, nonverbal, but he actually had good balance on the horse and he was doing very, very well on the horse. And he got to the point where he could actually trot, which meant there were 3 rec therapists trotting alongside the horse.
Running.
Yeah. I mean, those are such profound experiences. And one time the woman running the program, all I remember was her first name, Liesel. And Liesel said, Randy, why did you get up on the horse? And, I was terrified, but, I got coaxed, so I did. And all of these horses were donated. They were old horses. They were very docile, very gentle. So I'm on the horse and the horse isn't moving. And Liesel is just telling me, show him who's in control. You have to show him you're in control. I'm going, he is. So we'd walk like 3 or 4 steps and, I'm just trying to get him to go. I'm afraid to like touch him on the sides. I don't want to hurt the horsey. And, he'll take 3 or 4 steps and just stop to eat. That was my experience.
That's funny. But you were afraid and you got on anyways, and that's a big deal.
Yes, I did. Yeah, they were extremely gentle horses. And it was a great program. At the time, there was no easy access to the horse barn. And in the winter, I remember myself and the 2 other rec therapists were pushing heavy adults in wheelchairs through dirt and straw and fields to get to the horse barn, because there wasn't even a paved path for us, or certainly a snow plowed path. And oh my God, it was so hard, but it was so worth it.
That's really beautiful. Do you know if the farm is still in operation today?
As far as I know, that state school got shut down many, many years ago. I was there in the 80s, the early part of the 80s.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that program. More recently, I've become much more aware of the issue around wild horses in Nevada. And I have a housemate who dedicates her life to the wild horses and saving and helping. And right now we're experiencing a lot of fires all over, and some of which have been intentionally started. Others that have been started by lightning strikes just hitting sagebrush in the dryness. And so, yeah, my housemate also, she rescues horses that are being sent to slaughter and gets them to new homes. And it's quite a thing that we do.
Yeah, that's really important work. It's interesting. A few, maybe 10 years ago now, they shut down the slaughterhouses in the United States. And so horses are taken across the border to Canada and Mexico still.
Right, exactly. Still
So,
going on. They just found a workaround, basically.
Yeah, more or less. And yeah, it's just really sad. It's unfortunate too, because some of the horses back in the day, like people were trying to humanely, get them to a place and gave them the option instead of other people that, sometimes people would just leave them. They would leave them to neglect, which is also its fault.
Yes. Yeah, and the people that I know that are out on the range darting, they're trained darters to prevent pregnancies and things like that. And they'll often spot neglected horses, that were just dropped off. They're domestic, they're not the wild horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big issue.
That's like a whole nother can of worms. One of these days, I'm hoping to have somebody come on to be interviewed about the wild horses, just so that we can continue to inform the public more about exactly what's happening out there with the wild horses, and how many are being rounded up and how they're being rounded up, and how long they stay in those holding pens. Like, it's crazy how long the horses sometimes stay in those rounding pens.
There's a big thing happening in Australia now with the Brumbies. A particular breed of horse, and there's thousands of them that are endangered, and there are all of the local groups that are fighting to save them.
Yeah, I've had a few Australians on here. We talked about the Brumbies. They're a really interesting breed of horse, as the wild horses in Australia. Well, Randy, thank you so much for sharing all of that, and just such beautiful stories with our viewers. It's just really nice to hear more and more about how horses can help other people.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and until next time, folks. Bye.